Like, let's go. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello, friends. So, there's
Welcome back to Friends of Disney, where we are friends who talk about Disney. You may notice one of us is different.
you
Megan,
replaced our friend.
Megan, my wife, has decided to turn herself into a dude with a beard and trucker hat.
Like testosterone.
I mean, I found him at the corner of an Applebee's and just decided to pick him up.
No, this is Steven. Steven, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Steven, guy they met at Applebee's. Also a friend of Disney.
He's the guy I can actually hug.
Oh, you're holding hands.
That one I can't hug. That one I
No.
can.
Yeah, I think we've been over this. Me and Donnell cannot hug. We are not physically affectionate. It gets weird.
Yeah.
But anyway.
If Megan was here, hand hug. If only you knew.
But today we're going to be talking about something very different than what we've recently been talking about. We're talking about National Treasure, which came out in 2004, starring Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
And the others.
Look at this
But
photograph. Even though it's not that person, but that's what went through my brain.
But yeah, how do you guys want to begin talking about National Treasure?
Yeah, it's like a
Well-
national treasure towards, like, for me personally, because it kind of drove an interest in history.
It was like this movie brings out the history buff in me.
Oh yes.
Like the movie opens to a rainstorm where you see this young kid in his grandpa's attic, and his grandpa catches him and is like, you need to learn like about like the Freemasons and the Knights Templars treasure.
So that's the second thing. Actually, that's the whole thing that really came up for me. My stepdad and his family were actually Freemasons,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, what really goes on in there? Because like I've been inside the Freemasons like church before once in the town that I lived in, and I still have no fucking clue what they actually do.
I've been trying to find research on it, but it's weird because when I search like Freemasons, it's referring to like actual like masonry stonecutters
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everything. So I'm really curious, like,
It's a secret organization, but I still don't understand it.
yeah, I don't
I've been
either.
inside of it. Like the women do have specific roles, and like the men do have to like wear their Freemason sign. And then like the building, like they keep their buildings like kind of weird of like women. It's like if you could closely relate it to a religion, I'd put it closer to Mormonism,
Interesting.
but not Mormonism.
Well,
It's secretive, that's for sure.
well,
I get so confused by it though.
so with the story that the grandpa's telling this young kid whose name is Ben, he just tells the story about the treasure and how it began with these knights during the Crusades, I believe, that discovered the treasure in Solomon's Temple.
Yes, under Solomon's Temple.
Yeah, under Solomon's Temple, and they formed what's called the Knights Templar, and they just devote their lives to protecting this treasure. And basically, with every great battle in world history, not American history, the treasure keeps like getting stolen and
Bigger.
gets bigger and bigger and passes on who's protecting it. And it ends up coming into the protection of Americans during the Revolutionary War, where they come up with a way of hiding the treasure, and that was the last time the treasure was ever spoken about, really,
It just
or really seen. And
it
it's
just like simply vanished. And
pretty much.
it's what's interesting to me is that they dedicated themselves to that guarding of the treasure because it's too, as they say, it's too great or too big for one person to carry or to use.
It's too great for one man to have.
A great one to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I started to think, were any of these people that found this treasure, like all the knights were just like, we're not greedy, we're just gonna hide it from everyone? Like they don't want to keep it for themselves, they just want to keep it.
It's a weird like
It made me
juxtaposition
Juxtaposition.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm just thinking of like this is like the cheese scandal I heard on TikTok.
Can I just say, like, even though it's brimming with history of like historical references like the Crusades and the Revolutionary War,
Mhm.
I have to admit the grandpa must be a conspiracy theorist
That's
because
that's the whole idea, because realistically it is a conspiracy. Anything can be a conspiracy theory until it's proven true.
yeah.
And to date, that's what it was. And the grandfather in this, that's telling the story, is played by Christopher Plummer.
Mhm.
Rest in peace. Which it took me forever to realize that it was Christopher Plummer. He's amazing.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Christopher Plummer was the guy who plays the captain in The Sound of Music,
Oh,
as well as the guy who plays
we have
Harlem Thromby in Knives Out.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And like many other films as well. Like he's very big, was very big in Hollywood. But he ends up telling the story and everything, and then Ben's father breaks in and he goes, "It's a bunch of bullshit."
What's his name? Was it John Adams?
Something like that. Like they have very historical names. Like
Yeah.
Ben's full name is
Benjamin Franklin Gates.
Benjamin Franklin Gates.
His father's John Adam Gates, and his grandfather was named They could start with a P.
I'm not sure.
Or Henry. Maybe it was Henry.
I would probably.
I don't know.
I was gonna guess Henry Ford.
But
It wouldn't be that bad of a guess.
but the grandpa still tells him like the Masons and stuff, like you're still talking, because there's references everywhere, like the like the all-seeing eye and the unfinished pyramid on the $1 bill, for example.
Don't you mean it was the $100 bill?
No, it was the $1.
The $100 bill comes later in the movie.
Oh.
But that sets up the framework for the whole movie, because Ben's like, I want to find the treasure. I want to be a knight and stuff. And so the grandpa like knights him to like protecting the treasure. And then we cuts to like years later, we see a grown-up Ben, who, by the way, is the main character, if you haven't guessed, played by Nicolas Cage. And hold on, backtrack. I forgot something. Part of the story was that Charles Carroll, one of the last remaining signers of the Declaration of Independence, was trying to see the president to tell him about the only clue we really knew about where the treasure was located. Didn't get to see the president because he wasn't in house, and so he told it to Thomas Gates, who was like
the grandfather's grandfather of Benjamin Franklin's
grandfather. Ben's grandfather's grandfather's grandfathers.
Yes.
So you're talking 3 grandparents back from Ben.
So he's technically the 9th generation.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the secret, the only clue was that the secret lies with Charlotte. And so that's kind of what this whole thing was like. No one's found Charlotte. And we cut to Nick Cage in, I want to say, the Arctic or somewhere with
it
ice.
was like the Arctic Circle. It was north of Arctic Circle. And I was just like, that is interesting.
And they found the Charlotte, which was a ship. And they eventually found this Marichon pipe that had like, it was crazy detailed engraving.
Very detailed engraving. And basically what it looked like is just this white, it was just basically this white pipe that had the carving of the Crusades on it. Basically like a knight or a castle in the background. But the pipe itself had like engravings of lettering. So he basically pricked his thumb and smeared the blood onto the pipe so that he rolled it out on paper.
He broke off the mouthpiece.
Yeah, he broke off the mouthpiece just to go ahead and just like roll that out onto paper, and it was basically a short poem. Can't read it word for word, really.
Well, no, it was like it was a riddle and stuff, basically telling them where to find the map and things like that. And this is where I started to fall in love with the movie, and like I love the puzzles. Like it's just puzzle after puzzle, which the dad becomes a problem because he thinks that the treasure is just a ruse to keep the British occupied during the Revolutionary War.
That's the
Yeah.
part that slightly annoyed me, was how many puzzles there were.
I
Yeah.
loved it though. Like, this is why I don't shoot me for saying this. I like National Treasure more than Indiana Jones.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
My problem with Indiana Jones is it's more focused on the action until it gets close to the end, and then it's like puzzle after puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I love how many puzzles there are throughout this movie. Like, you have the puzzle, and they're like, sweet, this is what's next. And they're working, and more action occurs
Yes.
and stuff. And that's what I love about it. Because it's within that one riddle was like 5 different things that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they figured out that the map was on the Declaration of Independence. Don't know if you've heard of it.
If you're an American, you should.
I mean, it's a very important document. It's on the test of your history class.
For our non-American listeners, they may not know.
Yeah.
That is true. If you don't know because you're not from America, it was a document that basically established that we were no longer under Britain's control.
Yes. And it was basically a big middle finger to King George the
Third.
And then
King
a lot of
George
people
III.
signed this paper.
Yeah. And so, like, them finding out that the Declaration had the map was one part of it.
Mm.
And then within that riddle was trying to find the way to see the map, which was the Silence Do-Good letters, which were a set of letters that Benjamin Franklin wrote under actual Benjamin Franklin wrote under the alias of Silence Do-Good.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing, this is my true genuine favorite thing about the movie, is Ben's attitude towards America and everything. Like, when they figure out the Declaration was where the map was, him and his partner at the beginning of the movie, Ian, were trying to find it together. Ian helped float a lot of money to help in the investigation. Ian said, nope, looks like we're gonna get the Declaration and through any means necessary. And Ben's like, are you effing crazy? No.
Yeah, he wants to straight up steal it if they're not gonna let him walk into it. So they protest.
And so like Ben tries to alert the FBI, Homeland Security, even like the National Archives person Abigail, which later joins the crew with Ben and Riley, who's like their techie guy, helping them figure everything out. And no one's listening to them. And so he sits there in front of the Declaration, and it's like talking about how there's this one line in the middle of it. And I agree, I love this line in it, about how there's a line basically saying, like, if there is someone who's in charge that is going against the values of our country, it is up to the people to find someone new to put in charge and get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that line in the first place. Like, it shows that how much the founding fathers really thought, like, it's the people that control this country, not the government.
It's due to, it was basically self-justifying
Mhm.
of their brutality. Like, under King George III's rule of their representation wasn't being upheld into parliament, or they weren't even granted a seat. So
Yeah.
basically, after all their diplomatic ways of trying to resolve things, they basically had to take action.
Yeah.
Which that inspired I almost said Nicholas.
Uh-huh.
That inspired Benjamin to say, if they're gonna steal it and nobody's hearing me about this and I can't stop him, I might as well just take it because it's gonna be stolen anyway. It'd rather be in the good
Mhm.
in my hands than rather the greedy man's hands.
Which, to be fair, if he didn't steal it, it would have been stolen and in the wrong
It would
hands.
have been stolen anyway because apparently Ian's crew is always it
Mhm.
was gonna do the same way anyway.
Well, and it's interesting because if you look at Nick Cage's character versus Ian,
Yeah,
they're doing the same thing,
but just
but the way that they're doing it are huge reflections of their character. Like, Ben did research into how the Declaration is upkept, the sensors, the casings, the preservation room, every detail, and he thought it through so meticulously. Did that beautifully.
Mhm.
But then you have Ian, who was like, went underground, blocked the cameras, all this stuff, like very shady, very aggressive. Like he broke shit,
Yeah, he broke
busted doors, shotguns, like the whole thing. Ben didn't do that. They both had the same goal of stealing the decoration, but Ben's values came at the forefront when you see he cares. He's not doing this recklessly, which I admire a lot. I don't see that at all in this country anymore.
No.
It's the one thing that like I love about this movie. It's that he is very much so at his heart all for America, down to its founding.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, isn't the Declaration like actually held in a dark room now because of? I was like, because I've been told like I don't think they just magically poof it down into a preservation room. I was like, I think it's now just in a legit dark room because the light will.
Is basically just making a fade, right? Basically just turning into a
It's
fade.
pretty much, yeah, it's becoming sun bleached.
Yeah, because now it's been over, 250. Oh, wait.
It's been almost 300 years.
Almost 300 years of a document paperwork, and John Hancock is the only one that has the largest signature on there.
That you can still make out.
Yeah. I think the reason, just a little of a side tangent, was that the reason that he wrote it so big is because George III had poor eyesight. So as everybody was writing signatures,
Part of the reason he wrote it so big was because I think it was John Hancock. He was like the big honcho of like the
group there.
Yeah, like the group of the people that signed like the leader, like the colony or whatever. John Hancock was like the big honcho, so he like wrote it big. So he'd be like, yeah, I'm signing this.
Yeah, I'm signing this. Yeah, you can see that.
He wanted to be known.
Oh, exactly. He wanted it to be known.
He had big energy.
But no, like, what are your like? I knew this was gonna be a talking point because I was gonna make sure it was, because it's genuinely how I feel. Like, what are your guys' thought on like the patriotism we see in Ben versus the patriotism we see nowadays?
Oh,
I was literally
boy.
thinking of just like the things that you two are like starting to mention. I'm like, people are gonna be like, that's not America today.
Well, especially back then.
And we do have an election coming up.
No, we're not getting into that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into too much of modern politics, but there's always people that make the comparison of like our founding fathers would not like our today's government. The thing is that back then they weren't relying on the American people just to vote. It was more of like we're basically just having our rights being stolen or basically not being represented. So we'll represent ourselves and create our own government based on what we believe. So after when the war was over, they had to form a government to where how much can the government can control versus to what it cannot, because they don't want to have a king anymore. So this whole new idea was new to everyone. The Senate, the Congress, the whole president, the Treasury of State.
That's the thing I loved about our government setup. It was that no one had absolute power.
No.
Like the president, yeah, he's the president, but he's still limited by the Supreme Court and Congress.
Yeah. The only thing he can do is just overwrite or I should say veto laws that come to him or pass it.
But that's the thing, he can veto, but then it can go back to Congress to pass still.
Yeah,
but they can still overcome that.
Yeah, if it still overcome that based on even if the Senate or the representatives would say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you start to form a nation, you have to do this piece by piece. So since America was growing at the time, when it comes to today,
people are stupid. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's just due to the fact that people like to reserve what the Constitution or the amendments represent to change it to modern day because they didn't think that America would be as big as it is now.
I just want to like say this, that like, okay, not trying to get all political, but we do have an election coming up, and obviously during presidential campaigns are people going, okay, Trump or Biden make some promises to people. They can't actually fulfill those promises because they have two other parties that have to go. Gosh, I just wish people understood how our government worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I
we
like-
really
like-
need
like, there's
to.
more than just the president. The president is a very important person.
Yes.
The president's
me wrong.
making some
The
false
most
lies
job
sometimes.
in all the entire world, and has to fight the will of basically the people that live in it and born in it, just to represent them. Because if he or she um does something, that's how all of America is supposed to be represented by the world.
Well, I'm just like saying, like, in their campaign, if they will like want to promise something, then they have to go to Congress or to the Senate.
There is a lot of things that when it comes to politics, but however, whatever the president decides is how the American people are going to be represented, regardless of he or
And
she
that's
decide
it.
that.
But that's the thing. Like, you see Ben, and
Yeah.
he's like, he understands what this country was built on.
Mhm.
And, like, he has that true, deep understanding of it. Like, we see it when he's talking to Abigail at the party where he is starting to do his master plan of breaking in to seal the Declaration. Conveniently, it's the next part of the movie that we're talking through. So,
Yeah.
he's talking to her and he goes, "Oh yeah, to treason." And he goes, "Well, that's what these people like. That's what these people were committing when they did the Declaration. It was treason. If we would have lost the war, they would have been beaten
And quartered or
or
basically
had their my personal favorite, had their entrails ripped out and burned." like he has this, like, no, like, we were the underdog, we beat the largest military in the world. Like, he's proud of where we came from, and that pride pushes him forward. And we see that in his actions, how much he respects this nation.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
again, you never see him do anything violent towards anything historical.
Yeah, it does give you that patriotic feel a little bit, but I think it also relates to how he loves history.
Mhm.
Since he was
Abigail's
fascinated as a
comment.
kid, so he wants to make sure that the preserve of this document stays safe. Even though later in the movie he wiggles it around like a little toy,
Mhm.
and I just was like, that kind of aggravated me as a historian. I was like, that's a fragile document. Even his dad, when he finds out about it, was just like, you're holding it to the point it's gonna rip. And if you rip it, then that's more scotch tape been added onto it.
I was just kind of laughing at Abigail's comment that she had. She was just like, you legit have like all this stuff to like look at the document, like.
Yeah, like they had like the clean room,
Oh,
air
yeah.
particulate purifier, like the whole shebang. And
She was
he
like-
goes, "Really?" And then he had to be like, "Sorry, we can't actually go there because I had a credit card slip because I didn't have like 35 bucks in
that
cash."
was hilarious. In the scene, if you haven't seen it, was that he stole the Declaration, he rolled it up, but he was going for like a gift shop. The gift shop was selling replicas of the Declaration of Independence. So when so the retailer found him just randomly taking it, she thought he was stealing
A
a replica.
Yeah.
So he had to pay 35 bucks for it.
35 bucks for the actual Declaration.
He was short like a few dollars or something by cash, so she goes like, "We take Visa."
I felt called out in that moment. But like I love it when Abigail joins the group. Like, Abigail chases them down because she was convinced that like he stole the actual Declaration.
Yeah.
And she ends up
Well,
getting,
he did say he was going to steal the Declaration.
But not to her though. He was just
not to her yet.
Yeah.
He was trying to warn her about it.
Mm-hmm.
And well, yeah. It's like telling someone, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this criminal thing," and it's like kind of like they're not dumb enough to believe it.
No, they're not dumb enough to believe it. Which I have to admit, when it came to like, I think it was like towards the end of the film, was it the FBI or was it CIA?
FBI.
Okay, was FBI one of the guys that was just like he got Benjamin and he was talking to him, go like, okay, explain the whole situation again. He's like, as I said to you guys when this was about to be stolen, I decided to take initiative to do that. But yet here we are, he says. And I was like, dude, you're being hypocritical. He literally told you guys this was about to be stolen, so he literally stole it just to make sure it doesn't get into the wrong hands. But he's like, but since you stole it, now it's still gone. It's just like,
I mean,
He did commit a crime.
he did. He still committed a crime, but I mean, he wasn't wrong for saying like, you guys didn't listen to me, so fine, I did it myself. I took it into my own hands. I went vigilante.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm gonna see how much jail time it would actually be.
Oh, that's a
I
lifetime
did some
sentence.
research on this one. So he stole basically a priceless artifact, or basically it's a decorative art, so that he's an art thief. Since it's a national treasure, as the name implies, he will serve basically
Life.
he will serve only life if he actually committed like a murder during the whole spree, because regardless, murder is life. And there's petty theft, and then there's grand theft. Petty theft is probably just maybe like a couple of months to maybe 2 years. Grand theft, which is in this case, stealing the Declaration of Independence, will earn you about 5 to 20 years in prison.
Whoever robs, so 18 USC 2112, theft of personal property of the United States. Whoever robs or attempts to rob another of kind or description of personal property belonging to the United States shall be imprisoned no more than 15 years. So that this is basically kind of like white collared crime.
Call it grand theft, and especially since he can be charged with multiple crimes at this point, I'm pretty sure that adds up. And
Especially the breaking
Any
into the
injury
National
caused to the-
Treasury or
Mhm.
no, the National Archives.
National Archives,
huh.
yes.
Any injury caused to the Declaration of Independence would be punishable as a separate felony under Section 8, subsection 1361. Whoever commits any depredation against the property of the United States or Department of Agency, property has been manufactured, blah, 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 blah. If the damage attempted such property exceeds $1,000, fine up to $250,000, imprisonment for no more than 10 years. If damage or attempted damage sum of exceeds 100,000, imprisonment for no more than 1 year or both.
Yeah.
And
I think with like the lemon water situation, I think like the lemons and the I think I would consider that damage because like they tampered with it.
It would be tampered, but also at the same
So it'd
time,
be
they were doing
between-
that in the movies regardless without Ben.
Mm-hmm.
But just to preserve it, obviously. You trying to preserve over a 200-year document is hard.
Sorry, my business law brain is coming in, and I'm just
But-
like,
But yeah, so Abigail ends up joining the team. They
Mhm.
go to Ben's father's house to get the Silence Dogood letters because apparently he had the originals. And they end up like finding a cipher on the back of the Declaration, which if you had this, which is I think it's called like a Playfair cipher. So the numbers correspond to like a page, line, and letter number.
Mhm.
So it's like you can pinpoint specific letters to create a message.
Yes.
And the key to that is the Silence Dogood letters, which they find out is at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia.
Yes.
they pay this little kid money.
Yeah. So Riley's paying this little kid $1 for each set of 4 letters that he goes in and finds. And like the riddle ends up being, I think actually I have this one. Remember, it's like the vision to see the treasured past comes as the timely shadow passes over the house of Pass and Stowe.
Stone, yes.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is the makers of the Liberty Bell.
Stowe, not Stowe.
Stowe. I said Stowe. He was talking at the same time, so yeah, it melded.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And while Riley's doing that, Nick Cage and Abigail are getting changed at a thrift store
Yeah, just
with money they stole from his dad, which was stored in Common Sense, which
Oh, the Book of Common Sense, yeah.
yeah, by Thomas Paine.
He basically just slit like hundreds of dollars of bills into
Common Sense.
Common Sense inside the pages, and I was like, that's hilarious.
It's ironic. It's so ironic.
Yeah.
But
And he also stole the
I thought Disney was a little bold for that scene of them changing. They were a little bold on that one.
for 2004, that would have been it's PG rated as the film when it came out, but today it would be PG-13
At
and
least.
not even showing that at all.
Yeah, because I mean, it shows Abigail and Ben still like obviously like everything's covered up, but they're very obviously changing.
Yeah,
Like
obviously.
you can tell Abigail takes her shirt off, probably is wearing something to obviously cover
Yeah.
her chest and stuff, but like you don't see any straps or anything.
Yeah,
So
just-
like they're very obviously changing and everything. And it's just bold.
And can I just say, whoever designed these dressing rooms, awful. You need to come forward and explain yourself.
Like they're just sitting there like they have these I want to say like saloon doors.
Yeah, saloon. It looks like saloon doors, and it's only fit for the height and basically for both of these two people. And I was like, what if anybody was taller or shorter?
Like you would basically be able to see like below my knee and my up like below my knee and above my collarbone.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And it was perfectly built for them.
Mhm.
And they're like talking back and forth like, so like I meet your dad and the first thing he thinks is I'm pregnant. And like they end up like right next to the doors and are like looking over, and I'm like, one wrong move and y'all are showing a lot.
You're showing a lot. Yeah.
Like I thought that was brave of
Mhm.
them.
There was some like I think that was supposed to be like an indication of just like how comfortable they will be like forming a bond together.
I think so as well.
It's weird.
Hmm. But I'm gonna bring this up because I know Megan feels strongly about this. She gets so pissed over the way that Ben treats Abigail
Yeah.
because he
I don't blame Megan.
Yeah.
like
At
Abigail.
first, he's just like, shut up.
Okay,
Does she ever show?
he wasn't saying shut up. She was yelling at him, and she goes, "You're yelling again. Stop. Like
Stop
talk."
it. Get some help.
But like,
That just really pissed me off, though. It made me want to, like, not be quiet and just be louder and just be like, really, bruh?
honestly, like she had every right to be pissed off.
This just hit me. Yeah. You know what? That makes a lot more sense. That makes the other point of like when he's asking, "Are you okay?" Then he follows the question, "Are you hungry?" And then follows the previous question again. I think that was poking at her. I don't know. It's like when somebody says is that if your wife or any person that is like angry that is female, they're probably either sleep deprived or they're hungry. So I think that was a bit of a poking.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, she was pissed. And then
Makes sense.
And then you have this dickhead who stole the declaration. He goes, "Stop shouting," as if she did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, I'm just giving hearts to Casper. Because Casper understands my struggle.
but
Yeah.
but no, like, and like me and Megan were talking a lot about it because she was like, he kidnapped her, and I was like, wrong. That's not true.
I wouldn't say that.
Because he didn't kidnap her. Because if you look at the events of the movie, Ian did try to kidnap her.
Oh, yes.
He saved her. He was like, if I let you hold the declaration, will you shut up? And
But
so
then
like,
she starts running away.
and he gets her back, and she ends up saying, like, he ends up grabbing it back, and he goes, "Nope, you need to go. Like, go." And she goes, "Well, if you think I'm gonna let you leave the declaration, like, continue, like, have the declaration, like, leave without having the declaration,
Mhm.
then you're stupid." And he goes, "Well, we can't let Ian get to it, so." But then she goes, "Well, then you probably shouldn't have told me when
you were
like
going."
where you were going." So like she manipulates him into letting her come on.
Yeah. And even he points out later in the movie, it's just like, why are you sticking around? He goes, or basically Ben would say, she's curious.
Well, like, yeah, like you're like, no, like her curiosity's peaked. Like
pretty much.
she's invested now. Which
Mhm.
do you blame her?
Yeah.
Like this would be cool.
I mean, at any point after the whole car scene, even when they were seeing the house, they could have just done like she would have done like
I'm
an
not
Indiana
crawling
Jones
through a
stuff
grave.
of just like take the decoration and just like
I would have stopped at the grave and just been like, okay, cool. When you find the treasure, just like bring it out so I can like physically look at it. But nah,
oh yeah.
dead people,
Well, no, like that's the thing. Like how he treats her is one thing, but like I love the scenes where they're like bouncing off of each other, like working through like the bits of history, where it's like with this part with the Liberty Bell, where they're like, because like Riley's like
with the
like
bifocals and the
well no like Riley's like has like the riddle and stuff. They finish changing, and he's like he says and he goes, passing stuff, and they're like the Liberty Bell, like they're being geniuses and like, shut up, Riley. We like let the experts handle this. And they're just like, yeah, this and this and this. And he goes, oh wait, you do I know something that you don't?
Yeah, he takes so much pride in that.
So much pride. And he goes like, dude, come on. And then like he has this moment through like daylight savings and stuff, so it's not even like 2:22 yet and
Because
stuff.
due to daylight savings time that was made like what, back in 1910.
I don't know. And they're like, and then like, oh yeah, thank you, Riley. Yeah, we got to get going. He goes, do you know who actually did daylight savings? Like trying to milk him. They're like Ben Franklin. Like
Yeah, Ben
it's like, dude, you had your moment.
You should have just kept it.
You okay?
Yes.
You're not really saying much.
You two are just bouncing off of each other. There's like not that much room to
We're just a bunch
talk.
of history-
I am Megan today.
She's sitting and making safe.
Sorry, we just both really like this movie. You can
I can
interrupt us.
tell.
You can interrupt.
I have tried.
We take it from here. I feel bad now.
No, just keep going.
So
Because I don't know what the hell to say right now. I'm just listening.
Feel free to butt in any more time soon. Like
so
Okay, then I'll just slap you silly, and then I'll be like, I got something to say.
so
wow, for saying that to a guy you just met at Applebee's, this is kind of harsh.
so
I already found out that apparently I can hug you, so
You can hug a stranger, but you can't hug your best friend. That's saying something.
we can't hug. We've done it once, and it was weird.
it was really weird.
How many times have we explained this to people?
Too many times.
Too many times.
But
We're like
anyways,
pure ace of ace friends, except I'm not actually ace.
yeah.
You are.
But no, so they're on their way to the Liberty Bell and everything, and they get up to the bell tower, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
the
Where
Liberty Bell was hung.
Yeah, where it was originally hung because it
Mhm.
got replaced by the Centennial Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm pretty sure they said it right in the movie, like the actual details of like
When
when it actually took it down. So
yeah, they did.
that was
'Cause-
impressive.
Yeah. And so they end up seeing like one of the like the spire to it like pointing to a brick, and so Ben goes and finds a brick conveniently marked with this symbol of the Freemasons,
Mhm.
and he uses a knife to like, gouge out the brick and stuff, and inside is a pair of like bifocals or whatever, like it's funky like steampunk glasses with like little
Yeah.
levers.
Yeah.
And so
Ben,
it's a little bit of a stressful point in the movie because like you can see Ian like running up the stairs to get to the house
Mhm.
of like the belfry or whatever, and like it's like this race of like, are they gonna collide? No,
no.
figures. And they meet Abigail with the and Riley, who have the declaration in the signing room, and I love the little moment he has where he's like has like this like almost like religious moment of like, the last time this document was in this room was when that was Casper.
The Casper, I've been giving hand signals throughout the whole episode.
I gotta rewatch this episode. But they end up like he has this like religious moment where he's like, the last time this document was in the room was when it was being signed.
Oh yeah. Which that was
I'm just gonna give her a moment.
yeah.
If you're not on YouTube, Jonelle is just dying because of Casper.
Just that whole 2 minutes was just this.
It's not the first time this has happened on the podcast.
It's not.
I probably won't be the last either.
Not even close. But no, as you were saying about
Yeah, it was because the Declaration of Independence was that was the last place that it was ever signed. The last time it was there was literally over 200 years ago, which I have to admit that would have been astonishing to witness.
like that is a cool thought to think about
Mhm.
though. Like I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like if you were to be like in Independence Hall with the Declaration for the first time of it being back in the signing room since it was signed. Like that'd be cool.
Honestly, I wouldn't think too much of it.
You wouldn't think that too much of it?
No.
It's clear she's not that much of a history buff.
You know what they would have done?
Well, no,
I think it would make her interesting if she actually signed her name on the corner bit of it.
So my grandma was a history and music teacher. Like she's definitely more of that history person.
Oh yeah.
History literally was like one of my least favorite subjects. I was good at it just because I was just like, yeah, we're reading a story. Like cool. Now I got to take a test on this story of something that actually happened. But yeah, I definitely prefer to like be more reading non or fictional things, and non-fictional things I was just kind of like, okay. When it comes to non-fictional things, I don't prefer historic. I prefer like uh the best book I read was The Child Called It. Super sad, super depressing book.
Sad, yes.
Super depressing book. But it's like those psychological type books where you're like really getting to know someone's mind. I could care less about the history. I want to know more about that person.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were there with the founding fathers, would you like to know them individually as a person?
They're dead, but sure. They're dead.
What an answer. They're dead. What do I care?
I can't talk to them now. If they had like their journals out, you know, like of like things they did in their daily life, and then writing down their thoughts and opinions, like especially of while they were making the Declaration of Independence, sure, I'd be more inclined to read that.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I want to know people's tea. Okay, I want to know the gossip.
I just want
Give me the tea.
You want to be the gossip girl of 1776?
Hey, girly.
You know what? Just when you actually do arrive there, tell them about Benedict Arnold. Oh, that gossip tea would spill.
I was like, so I know about the Boston Tea Party, but I got the real tea.
And then tell George Washington, hey, do more investigation on Benedict Arnold's wife. She knows more than she's leading on.
My thing would be just don't wear the powdered wigs.
Oh yeah, don't wear the powdered wigs.
I'd probably just say I got the free tea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, or
But yeah, so like they use like the little bifocal things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a dance party with Casper.
We're not even through this movie, and we're almost out of time.
I was like, do you know this one? Oh, I'll go over it with you later. Okay.
So they're looking at the Declaration with the like the bifocal 3D glasses, whatever.
Also, those things are cool. I'd want those.
Right?
Oh yeah,
we're cool. They made Benjamin look so old, and Abigail look even older. But like they see like these like 3D like graphics coming off of the Declaration and stuff, and they end up like on a chase.
Seen art like that in real life?
I wish.
Like it does exist. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, there's you just paint in blue and red.
It's basic 3D.
Basic glasses, right? Gotcha.
And so like they end up on a chasing spree where because of Ian's goons and stuff. And my favorite part of this is when Abigail and Riley, who have the Declaration, are running through a market, and Abigail's like hiding behind the counter, and the lady who works there is like, you can't be back here. And she goes, I'm hiding from my ex-husband. And she's like, who, Baldy? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, honey, stay as long as you like.
She also like confronts him, and he does it. Is not taking it.
He goes, can I help you? Doesn't say anything. Excuse me, can I help you? He goes, shut up. And she goes, I see why you left him.
I have to admit, I pulled out laughing for that because I was just like, oh.
but just to speed things along because the rest like this for a little bit is like really boring.
The very end of the movie just goes by very fast once they reach the staircase.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ben gets caught by the FBI. And they tell him that he like only has two options.
Jail or jail, but you can
Feel good about yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they end up coming up with like basically what's it called? Like a sting, I guess. They use Ben as bait to draw out Ian.
To draw Ian and
And-
go ahead and like do like a trade-off.
Basically, yeah,
How I understood it.
to try and get the declaration back because that's all they care about is the declaration.
That's all care. The
And
FBI
so
does, yeah.
he ends up
Because that was the property stolen.
Yep.
and so he ends up jumping off of like this like viewing deck on the Hudson into the Hudson and ends up like using like a little like underwater torpedo thing to like spur you off. And they're like, does anyone have have a visual on gates? And they're like, it's the Hudson, you can't see anything. But they end up at Trinity Church, where they end up finding out that this guy Parkington Lane is the like gateway to like the undergrounds to where the treasure's being hidden.
He was like one of those high members of the Freemason.
Yeah, like
So then they open up his grave, they pull him out, except because it's made of wood, his body falls to the floor.
his skeleton fell out of the bottom of the coffin,
Mhm.
and then they
Yeah,
crawl
okay.
into like the crypt, and
It makes me think of that scene in Haunted Mansion when all of God, I hate that scene the
Yep.
most. And then there's spiders too.
No.
So
thanks,
please
Casper.
remember if you have a pet spider in the caption to put spider for Megan in the email.
Or anyone that actually has like arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia. I'm so sorry.
But they're find out the winding staircase,
Are you
and there's
okay?
Don't die,
and
don't die twice.
they find these like wooden stairs and everything, which comes to an actual Indiana Jones moment.
Yeah.
Where they're like
Okay, but the real question during that whole thing of the wood rotting in the staircase was how is the elevator still holding up? Because rope also does deteriorate.
I'm pretty sure there's like some janitor.
And they're standing on the wood of the elevator.
I mean, it's one of those. I mean, obviously, like
It's
some of the
movie
wood- Some of
magic.
the wood broke though. Like,
Yeah.
see, there was a deterioration. It was aged wood, but it's gonna be movie magic. Not everything can be 100% accurate,
I mean,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But
Also,
like you did,
coming out of that area when they find the treasure, those staircases had to break.
probably some of them did.
I'm surprised you're getting on this one when in the beginning of the movie they survive an explosion from the Charlotte. From old gunpowder that's been there for hundreds of years. You know, not ringing any bells.
No, there's just ice everywhere too. Like,
Well, you know, it does come into question, but you can see in like the treasure room, it's a stone building that was very much encased closed.
Oh yes.
I just want to know how they got those doors to like open.
Yeah, like can you
tons of
explain
WD-40.
that? That's a lot for 200 years. Yo.
But yeah, I mean, like it's a cool moment. Like they like have like they find the treasure and everything. Abigail's like astonished, like there's scrolls from the Library of Alexandria, which got burned down centuries ago. Riley's like blue stone man with a wicked goatee. I'm sure that means something.
If it ain't a member of the Blue Man Group, I don't know what is.
And then they give the treasure.
They give the declaration back to the FBI.
They give the treasure to the government to go.
Well,
And then there is also the 1%.
Well, so Ben gives the declaration back to the FBI, and he's talking with the FBI, like, he's like, you guys gave away your biggest bargaining chip, and he's like, this ain't a bargaining chip, not to me. Which again, like, shows that like how much respect he has
For
for
history.
his country and his history.
Oh yeah.
And they end up talking, and he's like, I found the treasure, probably worth like $6 billion. um, and they're like,
Probably
well,
more
what do you
than
want to
that.
do with it? Like, they the Masons believed it was too great for any one man to have, and he goes, well, I think what our founding fathers did with the government would also work for the treasure, and that's give it back to the people, split it between basically the biggest museums in the world
Yeah.
of the Smithsonian, the Louvre, the Cairo Museum. If anyone knows any other museum, please let me know. Those are the only three I ever hear about.
Smithsonian.
Yeah, I said that one.
Oh, you said that one. Okay.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
Smithsonian, the Louvre, and the Cairo Museum.
See, I hear about all the other weird museums, like when you go out to the Oregon coast, how there's like this airplane museum.
There's one on the west side too called the Museum of Light.
Yeah, and then in Grand Coulee, there's the Grand Coulee Dam
Mm.
Museum, obviously, because I lived there. And then, like, out in Reardon, there's this train museum.
I think it's Vegas or LA has the Wax People Museum.
Oh,
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't dedicated to that yet.
Victoria, BC, Canada has a miniature world museum. That one's so fun because then you get to play with miniature figures while you're walking through the museum. It's so
Oh, yeah.
fun.
but like, but yeah, and like, but yeah, that's pretty much how the movie ends. Like, they each get a little bit of a cut and stuff of the money. Riley gets 1 measly %.
Measly 1%.
Yeah. I love the scene where they arrest Ian because so Ian had left them in the hole where they thought they found the treasure.
Yeah.
And they gave Ian a fake clue to basically try and get him to go away and everything. And they're like, oh yeah, that one lantern is symbolizing of like the Old North Church in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, where Thomas Newton hung a lantern to signal to Paul Revere that the British were coming. One if by land, two if by sea, one lantern and stuff. And obviously Ian wasn't that talked about his American history. Otherwise he would have known that the British came by sea, not by land.
Yeah.
So it was 2 lanterns. Otherwise
Yeah.
he would have seen right through that.
Mm-hmm.
But
it would give you like an itch if you were ever like into that part of that history. It was just kind of like, excuse me, that's incorrect.
well, like Abigail calls him on it, and
Yeah.
so the FBI ends up like arresting him at the Old North Church and everything. And like as like they're like putting handcuffs on him, you just see in the distance Gates, like Ben standing there, like I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
I just think that's just a little bit of like a badass moment.
It
I would
was,
love to have
yeah.
that moment.
Oh yeah. If they would ever plan to make like a 3rd movie, oh, I think
There is a series, a National Treasure series on Disney
Yeah, I
Plus.
was just gonna talk about
I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I.
I'm a little bit intrigued by it, but it's not like gonna be the same.
It's like I was kind of, or maybe I would say this is that this movie was only carried, or the 2 movies anyway, was carried because it's Nicolas Cage as basically the main protagonist.
Yeah, and it makes me sad there wasn't a 3rd because both movies were very well done.
Yeah, well, I was trying to figure out why this was the case. Somebody said that it was hard to create merchandising for this if it was ever becoming a franchise. Like Indiana Jones was easy because you got the hat, you got the whip, you got the coat, basically just the whole entire atmosphere of Indiana. And then what's another series that would be higher adventure?
Night
The
at-
Mummy series.
Mhm.
Oh, I was gonna say Night at the Museum.
Night at the Museum, yeah. Those are easy to merchandise, but how are you going to merchandise a phonetic conspiracy theory historian?
It's true. Well, that's true. And like I can maybe see some stuff of like puzzle books using like because like both movies have like different ciphers in them, clues,
Yeah.
like those things.
If it was a book, it'd be those books that you had when you grew up where there was like a certain gem in the center of the book, and then as you read through it, there's like little envelopes you can flip open, and then
I have one of those.
yeah, I was like,
I
you
mean,
know what I'm talking
there's-
about.
There's those, but like I remember like these like decoders where it's like here's a bunch of random letters, but you have this like a wheel that has like 2 lines of letters around it, and it's like the only key would have to be like A equals K. And you'd have to like align the letters together to where like A is with K, and then you follow one ring to be like, oh, then this letter's this letter's this letter's this.
Yeah.
You know, which again, like that's a cool, like those are cool puzzles and everything, and I would love it. Because yeah, those are like being able to do those ciphers and everything would be cool.
Oh yeah,
and no one really hears,
cryptography is so fun. Like
right?
doing that as
Yeah,
a side
but
hobby.
I hate to put this as I'm really siding with Megan though, but like this is definitely not one of my favorite movies.
Can you please give us criticisms? Like we've been like praising this movie a lot. I really want to hear criticisms.
Okay, here's some
Yeah.
criticism. All of this is just a grand conspiracy theory.
It's just
This
I
the
was-
conspiracy theory even sucks because, like I was saying earlier, I'm surprised when the Knights found it, or basically all the rise and fall of the empires, they all collectively said, let's gather this treasure. And when the Crusaders found it, it's too great for one man to carry, or one great man to hold. I call bullshit. If anybody saw that, especially the Crusaders that came all the way to Europe to go to the Holy Land, and they found this, they would have treasured this and sent it to their families back home.
that or to the Pope.
Or that to the Pope, yep.
See, while I'm watching this, I'm just like, this is by far definitely not realistic. As in, time changes, things change.
Oh yeah.
Like the White House, I'm sure they added additions into the building. Like buildings change, and someone would have discovered it earlier, like if it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Due to natural, because surveyors do come to the land, like especially after natural
restructuring of the territory or the building itself. So,
But I mean, there's that. But you also, this is me just devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because I love playing that role. Because like I grew up, on the west side of the state, and in the Puget Sound area, there's 3 military forts that were genuinely active, and in the sound they make an actual triangle. It's clearly called the Triangle of Fire, and they're still standing. Like they blocked off some rooms and stuff like that, but generally they preserve it 100%. They haven't really they haven't.
I mean, if you're
refurbished
talking
it.
about Hanford where they blew up the
No, I'm talking like literally military forts are on the sound. Like I think they're Fort Casey. I can't remember the other two. Fort Casey's the one I grew up with. But like they didn't really like there's stuff that is blocked off. Like you can't go in those rooms.
Yeah.
They didn't do like a full restoration or whatever. They're blocked off, but there's like lots of other rooms you can go into. There's some lights and stuff so you can see. The cannons are still up there, not active. And stuff. So yeah, they probably surveyed the land, but especially like big landmarks like the North Church, where literally like had the signal for the British are coming for Paul Revere, which is a huge part of American history. They're not gonna change those buildings. They're not gonna change Independence
yeah,
Hall.
but they're gonna make sure that it still could keep its structure and keep its sound.
Yeah, but this is also like another part of the criticism would be that whoever created all these clues and trying to preserve it, I have to admit, even if it is the Freemasons or the Knights Templar, or if there was
It's
still
movie magic and
Yeah.
it's not real.
it is not real. So let's just bear witness. There is no document or basically no map behind the Declaration
And this
of
is where the
Independence.
criticism comes in, as a person who like generally does not enjoy this movie as much as compared to other movies, is that it's all made belief.
Oh yes.
Well, yeah.
The movie is all fan fiction.
Except for maybe one component, which is the lime and juice method, or the heat, like the secret messaging. I don't know how it's being, or how it was produced back then, or how they created it. Basically, if you put lemon juice or with heat onto it, it will create like a secret message, or will reveal one. So that is accurate,
Yeah.
but it's not on the Declaration of Independence, which I have to admit, whoever did that, I'm like, dude, that is
Okay. But
ridiculous.
besides the Declaration of Independence, like obviously that was just a hook.
Yeah,
that was
that was a
obviously
hook,
meant
yes.
to be the hook.
Yes.
I think all the other clues though, like were so craftfully done. Like they were very well done clues. Like making like the cipher with the silence do good letters, make the Liberty Bell, the brick. Like realistically, those are all like really well done clues that you gotta have a like a giant ass brain for.
The one for the pipe thing was a bit much.
Hmm?
With the smoking pipe, I say that one's a bit much,
No,
especially with the ship to Charlotte.
I think that's relatively normal because a lot of them did smoke out of pipes.
Well, it's not because they
Wait,
smoked out
which
pipe.
part of the pipe? Like where they had like ruled it and got the message?
I would say
The stuff
from the design of it to the pipe and basically where the Charlotte was at, I was confused because I'm like, okay, who would smoke out of this pipe? Obviously, you made it for just
Look
for
at
something to be
stoners who would smoke out of like what was Rick the Pickle.
Rick the Pickle. And,
A lot of stoners would. It was just their thing. It was their culture. Our culture, we smoke out of Rick the Pickles.
okay,
So-
all right, put up
So
that, but
I gotta ask then because I brought up earlier Indiana Jones.
yeah,
Which Indiana Jones,
I like Indiana Jones.
oh yeah,
but it has the same flaws.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You just called this movie out. The same thing exists in Indiana Jones. Because, and I'm sorry to those who believe
I
this, and
understand.
agree, the Ark of the Covenant, as much as it is a huge part of biblical texts, that remains a conspiracy theory.
Generally speaking. So if we're gonna go off the rate, the Lost Ark from the first movie of Indiana Jones, there is some historical
think
reference
we
of
need
like
Indiana
Hitler
Jones.
was really fascinated with the occult, and he did sign a task of like scientists and like, or basically anybody that was interested in the occult, go find that, especially one of his right hand men.
Well,
But to find those said artifacts was, completely failed.
yeah, because the history of any faith-based system, it borders between religion and mythology.
Yeah.
It does. Like, I think
And
isn't it like the Last Crusade? He's looking for the Holy Grail.
Yes.
There's no record of a Holy Grail really
Everything
in the Bible.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy theory. I'm sorry, it is. It's something that we think is real.
Maybe
Like,
it was a metaphor. Maybe it was
conspiracy theory has like this very niche look at it, but
that was just the last Indiana Jones movie we watched, though. But I love Greek mythology and
I do
mythology
too.
and
Yeah.
things like that.
And yeah, like the latest one, Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny. Yes.
Yeah, like we watched that one. He straight up went back in time. like I'm not saying you're wrong for liking Indiana Jones, but it's the same criticism.
It can be faced with the same criticism, but I think we would wave off of Indiana Jones compared to National Treasure, where it talks about
I was like,
three different like secret organizations and trying to converse that they all work together to preserve this massive treasure.
Well, I don't think it was like separate organizations working together. I took it as it evolved over time. Like it started as the Knights Templar and then it just became the Freemasons. Like it was more of a progression that changed with the time.
That's even more conspiracy theory to believe that these separate goals, or no, I would say these separate organizations all working for the same goal.
I'm saying it's not, they're not separate organizations. I'm saying they're the same organization that has evolved over time. Like it started as the Knights Templar as the original, and it just changed in time. Just as like other groups, like Christianity has developed into many different branches.
Yeah.
Like it started as one and then has changed with time.
Yeah.
Into something different as different members and stuff come and go and things like that. Again, I'm just like being devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm great at it.
And you also wanted to try and wrap this up like about 20 minutes ago.
Hey, I know I said that, but also I think
you are being your own critic here.
I was more referencing over the fact that we have yet to get through the movie.
Yeah.
But
that's you too. You too.
Okay, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah,
I
well,
want to see the Northern Lights, my dude.
It just got dark.
Exactly.
Okay, we gotta get ending for tonight.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, check out our Patreon.
Oh yes.
All the things help support us. And if you like having this good dude from Applebee's, let us know and we'll try and find him again.
Yeah, I might be hanging around behind Best Buy. You never know.
Yeah. Also,
Okay, I know where he lives.
Oh no. Yeah,
But
behind
yeah.
the dumpster, right?
bye, friend.
Bye.